Alrighty, so here is the one for October 22nd, which was the Thursday before, or no, it came out like...
It came
What
out
was
that
it?
Sunday, and it
Yeah,
came out
Sunday,
at
there we go.
like 9 o'clock Central Standard Time.
Gotcha. That's why I forgot about it, because I was at CitizenCon when it came out, so I totally missed it.
And it's self-posted.
Yep. So Naz, you want to do your thing, man?
Yeah. All right. If the website wants to actually work,
That's asking a lot.
I know. It loaded a blank white screen. All right. As we are to do when we read documents straight from CIG, we like to read the header. That way we transfer to you exactly the purpose that CIG has for these documents. So with the Roadmap Roundup, it says, "Happy Sunday, everyone." Not the usual one. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup, the CIG community team.
Sorry,
All right.
wife texted me.
So this is gonna be your first time reading this.
Pretty sure. Yeah, because I don't think I even noticed that it was a thing.
All right. So you
'Cause
want to go
I-
ahead and get the
I was a little bit
progress
busy
tracker bit?
when this came out.
I can imagine. You want to go ahead then reading the progress tracker bit?
Yeah, 1 second. Just texting the wife back.
Quad Mississippi.
Dead air.
Okay. All right. So for notable changes for October 22nd, 2023, the progress tracker, as announced at the conclusion of CitizenCon 2953, which I guess when this came out, it hadn't concluded yet. The game has moved in. Squadron 42 is now feature complete. The game has moved into the polishing phase, which you'll see reflected on the progress tracker. Additionally, Squadron 42 teams have now been divided into strike teams, represented as new teams on the progress tracker. These teams' headcount is represented by the main stakeholders, but the teams themselves are comprised of developers across multiple disciplines, including design, engineering, art, audio, and more. So this is pertinent because I do remember looking at these teams later. And so the head count for those teams is not all inclusive. So if you look, we'll look at the head count here in a second, and it isn't telling you exactly how many people in each strike team are working on polishing. It's just talking about the main stakeholders. So those stakeholders will be sourcing labor essentially from other disciplines. And it won't just be the people, the numbers of people that are mentioned in that strike team. They'll all be working on a single deliverable, Squadron 42 polishing, as their tasks become more agile and they work towards beta and release. As was the case with Squadron 42 teams previously, these teams will only display 1/4 of work at a time, so they will be downstream teams. We've added 4 strike teams to Progress Tracker to the Progress Tracker. There's no the with this publish, with additional ones to be added in the future. So that's the important part. Is
interesting. They said towards beta.
Yeah,
because beta is after, like, once you're in polishing, you're in beta. So I don't know what they're counting as beta.
I think what they're counting as beta is content complete. So
it is content complete.
Oh, they're feature complete. So they're
wasn't content complete before it was feature?
No. You need all the features to be complete to complete all the content, because the content is made up of features.
Yeah.
Or is it?
That's the way I understand it. Is the feature complete, then content complete, because content complete will be when all of the scene, all the individual scenes are locked in. They haven't removed anything. They're not cutting anything. At that point, they're polishing the features right now, which will also carries over to polishing the content. But if they cut any scenes or lines or
add,
add anything, that's once that part is done.
It's completing the valve turning tech so that you can make every valve turning puzzle.
Yeah. But yeah, I think these are the things that stand out to me is the head counts are not all inclusive. So those teams are larger than the head count actually represents. And there's going to be more teams added in the future. Probably as they get started with the work and they figure, the list of things that need polishing gets a little bit more complete is when they'll add those teams and stand them up. Okay, we need people working on this, so you guys work on that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah. And so Naz, you want to, or Shiny, who wants to read the release view stuff?
I can if need be.
Sure.
Yeah, Naz, you can take it.
All right. Make sure I'm on the right one. Yes. Okay. So release view. The following cards have been added to the release view. Ship trespass. In the interior of player ships are now considered trespass zones for those without permission to enter. Permission will be granted via party system until more complex systems for managing crew and passengers is created. I really hope that is soon. Give us Org 2.0, cowards. Players trespassing aboard a ship can be attacked by the owner of the ship and any players in their party without fear of committing a crime. Drake Cutter Scout.
And building ship trespass is it's in the 3.2 or 321.1.
Yes.
P2 right now, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And yeah, that's still tentative on the release view, but it's under the 321 column. Okay. And
321.1 will be out on the 17th or before.
Yeah.
Because that's what IE is, and it's all got all the IE stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Drake Cutter Scout, building, balancing, and implementing the Drake Interplanetary's reconnaissance ship, the Cutter Scout, into the game. Anvil F-8C Lightning, building, balancing, and implementing Anvil's heavy fighter, the F-8C, into the game.
Okay, so the F-8C was added to the release view for 320. The Cutter Scout was added to the release view of 321, and it's shows as released, obviously, because we got it at CitizenCon. Okay, cool. And yeah, okay, so that is it for the Roadmap Roundup for October 2022. Let's go ahead. I'm going to open up a new window, and we're going to pull up those strike teams real quick. Okay, so here are the new strike teams.
It's interesting that they start with index 0 for their teams. Well, interesting to me. I mean, like as a programmer, you might start at 0 rather than 1 when you're counting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not interesting actually, but
what was there a language that just updated to use? There's a language or an engine that just updated to instead of start with 1 to start with 0 in an array.
I don't know. It's a toss-up between the languages that do which way.
There was like a sigh of relief from Twitter and devs on that language.
I don't know. That was beyond the purview of this shiny dome. But yeah, so we have the 3 chapter strike teams and the 1 social strike team. And as you can see, I've got these things opened up. The description is the same for all of them. And it shows, the head count that represents the major stakeholders. So, of each strike team. And obviously the head count is not representative of the actual number of devs that are working on this. Now that does make things a little bit confusing because we're not going to be able to track realistically, in any way, how many devs are actually working on Squadron 42 going forward.
Yeah, but it's also, you really don't need to it's a nice to have. It's not really a need to have, and it makes it. This is not for us. This move was for the game, for getting it done.
Yeah,
they did what they needed to do, and unfortunately, in this case, it was backers be darned because it's the structure they need to get to gold.
Yeah.
And it's just tracking all those devs, though fun and fulfilling, is not something that they have their time to do. That'd be insane because any given week they could be pulling 3 to 50 devs on whatever they're working on that week, that day. It's very agile at this phase.
Yep. But yeah, it's interesting though that you do see the disciplines that are represented. It's all designed for the first two strike teams. The strike team 2 has one, a tech content stakeholder, and design, and then the social strike team has engineering and design. It'll be interesting to see what the makeup of the other teams are and what they're, are we going to see more chapter strike teams? Is there going to, because we have a social strike team, are we going to see like a FPS strike team and like a flight strike team or something? Who knows? I
imagine we'll see flight, FPS, and cinematic at the very least.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they break it down. The other thing is with the language, I do think that there's a lot of conversation in the community about how making it very binary between feature complete and content complete and beta and all that, and it's not it's not rigid like that. There's so much overlap. It isn't a hard line in the sand that says they're feature complete, and so it's going to take X amount of time until their content before their content complete because they can't be content.
Yeah, it's still game development.
Yeah, it's still game development, but a lot of the content is already complete or very complete, or nearly so. And a lot they talked about this. They've been polishing as they go, and so a lot some things are more polished than others, but they don't have to polish everything.
Yeah,
some things are going to need some polish, some doesn't.
Yeah, like they've been saying most of the year, they've worked on getting another vertical slice polished up to almost finished game content. So that chunk of the game is pretty much done. But in the same vein, if the devs if the devs end up building another feature and the Squadron 42 devs are like, they actually have to make a good addition. They're not going to say, well, we're already feature complete, we'll hold off on adding this. No, if it makes sense, they'll add it if it's in a good state. This portion of time where we're pre-beta, pre-gold, but also post-feature complete is very, very, very muddy in time because anything could happen. There's nothing that isn't happening right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think they are, pardon me. They're, they are feature complete, but I think that, the things that they were waiting on to get to feature complete, took a little bit longer while other stuff was working towards getting content complete. And so I think they're at that point in the game where they're not really going to be cutting anything significant at all. It's not like they have a deadline and they say we have to have it out by this point, and at this point we have to stop production and polish what we have, or cut what we don't need in order to polish what we have left, to make it look like we didn't cut as much as we did. And that's what's gone on with every other game. And that's like the big, I think the big misnomer is that, it'll get delayed and all that. And, there's still going to be, obvious cuts and stuff. And it's like, no. That's why CIG has been doing it the way they've been doing it, is because they don't want to do that. And it'll be done when it's done. And they wouldn't have made a big deal about being feature complete if they weren't nearly content complete, because they're not going to be cutting features or major content because they have a deadline. They have an internal deadline, but they're looking at making that they wouldn't have set that deadline for themselves if they weren't so close that they could make big announcements like this and start the hype train going. If that makes sense. It's not like with Cyberpunk where they got to, a year out from launch and they're like, okay, we can't keep working on this game. We have to polish what we have and cut these things that aren't going to make that deadline, and hope you hope you make it in time. Yeah. Oh, Blizzard. Yeah. So, pardon me. Shiny, was there anything on the Shiny tracker that you thought that we should point out from this like the Delta, or any like Delta changes or anything? I mean, I guess we can pull it up. I didn't even look at it.
Well, these changes from the 22nd were really just like the only ones that made any modicum of sense since this last one.
Before it forked.
Yeah, so like this is the information that you have for the quarter, basically.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I would say that half of the things on here they showed directly at CitizenCon. So fire hazards, freight elevators, physical damage, breakability, pyro-space stations.
That's a very good
I don't know.
point.
Do you count vehicle munching as Maelstrom? We don't. Do we know if that's the same technology?
It is.
I feel like, yeah.
I feel it is. Have they?
It should be.
There was a interview. I forget who it was with, but it was with a dev at CitizenCon, and they said if Maelstrom didn't exist, we would not be getting vehicle munching as soon as we are.
Right.
Oh man, if you can find like a source or anything for that, because that was my speculation. It's like, I mean, you remember that ISC? Oh yeah, it makes complete and total 100% sense, because if you guys remember that ISC where they showed how like it took forever for
to
it
spawn all
to
the
spawn
objects.
to spawn all those objects, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna have to work on this. And then one of the highlights of the Maelstrom presentation was that it was networking and persistence ready, and basically the way it works is it takes those pieces and just separates them without creating. It doesn't make this entity disappear and create a new entity. It just breaks up that entity into pieces.
I wonder if the vehicle munching devs were still working, and somebody like came to them like, we've decided to not go this direction.
Yeah.
And just like completely rip the deliverable out from under them, like, hey, so we have this other tech over here that does everything you're attempting to do, so stop working on that.
Did you guys not get the email? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You guys have been working for how long on trying to fix this problem? That's awkward.
Yeah. So an interesting thing on the was a scheduled deliverables.
Wait, where are you looking?
Polishing team, the scheduled deliverables section. So not the
Are you? Oh, okay. Hold on. For that same date?
Yep.
Hold
I'm continuing on about the 22nd.
Okay.
If you open up the squadron teams.
The polishing ones?
Yep.
What do you mean open them up? Like click them?
Yeah.
If it clicks it, like, oh.
Yeah. They've been working for a little bit.
Well, yeah, this got started a little. I mean, this is like in September, because you can see on they some started into September, some started a little bit earlier, but yeah, they've been going already. This was going on for over a month before the announcement, and that's just when these teams were formed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing to take into account too is not only have they been working since those teams were formed in September, but we still have Squadron 42 vehicle support that is ongoing. I'm looking at the right one. With the Vehicle Content EU and the Weapon Content team for Squadron 42.
All the way through the fog of war.
What is this whole... Shiny, can you... I'm looking at it, and it's got 4 design devs working on 13 tasks, and then it has like a little enter sign, and below it says, "Will continue 2021."
It means that within that 2-week period, it stops and then restarts within that period. So
why does it say 2021 though?
That's a great question. Maybe I have a bug.
Yay, we're good testing.
Which one is this for?
This is the October 22nd. Because this was rampant across the November 1st one as well.
Yeah, he noted that one. Well, this a lot of stuff being updated.
So Nazeris, while he's looking at that, so
I would say that I have a bug. I just haven't looked at these reports that closely in forever.
That's why you got us.
Let's smash it. Smash the bug.
Yeah, dude. Rest in peace. Don't trust anything that I put out. This website is parody. Nothing's accurate on it. It's as accurate as SIGs, okay?
The rules are made up, and the score.
The dates don't matter.
Yeah.
Where's can Mark ShinyHobo Aben?
That answers a question for me, though. I wonder if so. So how would that read? What would that read normally? Like it says, the 4 design devs working on 13 tasks through 12/14, 2023, and then the will continue part with 4 devs. Like, what is that?
I couldn't say why.
Well, you see those little gaps
from 2 years ago because there isn't a gap there as far as I can see.
Yeah, because
you can check it on the browser.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So if I go in and I look at this on the timeline view,
I'm sorry if I made work for you.
You might.
Yeah, all of the will continues are from years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's all 2021.
Is that the start date?
The RSI Polaris doesn't. It says it, but it's still in the past. So
is it the start date?
I think that's the start date for that actual deliverable, because the Progress Tracker started in January of 2021, and so these deliverables may have started back then.
Do you have an extra piece of data, Shiny, that you didn't know about?
Nah, I'm probably just referencing the wrong piece of information.
Because it's a good data point to know when the deliverable got started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there is.
I'll note it down and fix it for next time.
Yeah.
Unlike SIG, who we'll note things down and it won't get fixed for 2 years,
Their notes are just a bit longer.
So say we all.
So say we all. So okay, but back to the vehicle munching, because I'm not going to call it structural salvage, just like we don't call it X in this house, we call it Twitter.
But even Twitter calls it Twitter. They reverted the URL.
Yeah. So everybody put on your tinfoil hats with me. Nazeris, put on your tinfoil hat. Make your tinfoil hats on. Just use your hands. There you go. It's got to be a pointy tinfoil hat.
Oh, pointy one.
So, we remember what they said in the ISC about the hull munching, and the spawning of entities and all that. And there was a lot of concern back then for how long is it going to take for them to, make the ships work this way. And then with all the Maelstrom stuff that came out, everybody's freaking out about, oh gosh, it's going to take them forever to convert all the ships to work like this and for us to for this to function. And now we have hole munching on the release view for 322, which means it is already like going through its go no go. It's if it's on the release view as tentative, that means it's past its what's the gate? Is it the it hasn't
Which
passed
one?
its go no go, right? If it's tentative on the release view,
Correct.
or has it? Yeah,
It has not.
Okay.
Until it is committed, it is still possible to pull.
okay, yeah, but it's like 70%. I just there's a gate, there's a test gate for it. I just forget what it's called.
Yeah.
But it's far enough along that they're confident that it will make it, but it could slip. But if that's the case, and it's using Maelstrom, like I suspected, and like you say that somebody got in an interview, if somebody's got a source for that, that'd be great. I would love to see it. Like, for the love of God, please give me a link. But it makes too much sense. That looks exactly like what they wanted from structural salvage when they were doing the ISC on it. Only it worked perfectly, and it's persistence and network ready. And it's the other thing that they said is it's an easy artist setup. So to me, that suggests that it's very easy for them to get the ships to work with that in order to do the structural salvage part. Now, do I think that that means that we are going to have full-on Maelstrom integration with structural salvage, hole munching when it releases? No. I think that could take a little while longer in terms of more testing, but in terms of ship is soft death and you are ready to break it apart with salvage, I think that a simplified version of that using Maelstrom is definitely possible. But it goes to show you that it is not some, if this is true, that it's not some just massive undertaking to convert all the ships into the Maelstrom system. Because that's one thing that I was like, there's no way that they would undertake Maelstrom and physical damage and breakability like that if there wasn't a way to procedurally and very quickly mark up ships to function in that environment. But that's just my thoughts. Okay, we can take our tinfoil hats off now. Let's put it back over here on the table. Yeah, crunch on all those Doritos.
Yeah, it's way older.
So for the deliverables that were updated for the Delta report for October 22nd, obviously we know the Squadron 42 polishing was added with all those teams. And it's interesting because they show the VFX team began work with 5 art devs on Squadron 42 polishing via the Delta report. But then deliverables updated. So Crusader Spirit work, VFX team, enemy characters. So interesting enough that this work has stopped. And so essentially this work has been rolled into that polishing work, enemy characters being for Squadron 42.
Speaking of earlier,
ahead,
when we said there could be some features that aren't complete still yet to go into Squadron. Fire hazards is not done. So that is marked as a Squadron feature as well. So they are mostly feature complete, but they're at a state where the most of the work is polish, and features that come in are almost done or done as is.
Yeah, one like the fire hazard as a feature is complete, but it's still polishing. Like the VFX, they're still polishing all that. They're probably gonna. I noticed one thing when they did the demo in the hangar for what panel was that with all the AI combat, and they had that fire showing you how the AI could navigate around the fire and they wouldn't just kamikaze right through it and catch on fire. Unless they're fire rats, they would probably do it.
Unlike the opening cinematic where there's NPC just running into a hallway of fire.
Yeah. That was so funny. They're like, ah!
Which is probably one of the reasons why we don't have that video out on YouTube yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like VFX, this is probably all just polishing work. I think one of the things they're probably going to be doing is trying to smooth it out so you can't like readily see the square grid system and see it tiling like that, because it was very obvious that it was a tiled effect, and being able to um, what was the verbiage they used for each one of those little grids?
Volumetric
I think so.
is a volumetric compute.
Yeah.
Voxel, yeah, that works. Same thing.
Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. Each one of the hiding the shape of that grid so it doesn't look like a grid.
They said it was procedural voxels.
There we go. Procedural voxels. I wonder if the procedural part could be dynamic in size to make it look a little bit more natural.
I think they're doing the same thing something like Space Engineers do, where in runtime, that's the procedural bit, on runtime, they will compute the internal volume of the ship. I think theirs is a bit more progressive. It only calculates the volume, the voxels that are around the fire. And so the calculation will get harder as the ship gets bigger, or as the fire gets bigger in the ship. So even if you start a fire in the hangar of Bengal Carrier, the compute's still very easy because the fire is still very small. But if you let that run for 30 hours and it engulfs the entire Bengal, then it's going to be a lot harder to compute. But by that time, the flashpoint will already have burnt out, so you don't need to calculate that zone anymore.
Makes sense. The work continues on freight elevators, as we know. The good thing is what they showed in at CitizenCon looked really great. It looks like it's pretty far into
the
development.
fact they have art already for these things, like final art for these things.
Yeah.
The only thing they didn't show, and it's also very telling, they didn't show any of the UI.
Yep. You are. Yeah, we are.
There's a reason we do this show.
Yeah. They didn't what they call it, the for that panel that they showed in front of the door, because they showed a concept art of someone standing in front of that panel in front of the freight elevator. Oh gosh, it was a something manager. Anyway, that
inventory.
Thing. It was a kiosk looking thing. But yeah, that was yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The other thing I got really excited about, the Hangar Manager app, or was that it?
Oh, okay.
I think, yeah, something like that. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. The other thing that I got excited about when I was rewatching the Exploring the Universe or whatever it was panel no, it wasn't that one. It was Life in the First Person, where you click to use a screen and it zooms you into the screen and it fills up the screen, and the whole thing is right there. Oh gosh, huge quality of life thing for me.
Yeah, and how they do it, it doesn't feel like your face is getting sucked into the screen.
Yeah.
I love it. That I cannot wait till that
get
comes
your little nose print on the screen for someone after you,
and then you like back away, and your like face is still attached to it. It's
you're like a suction cup. You're like trying to pry yourself off.
Yep. And yes, for everyone who's like, but there's an X on the screen, you could just hit the. I know, but you could also just back away.
Obviously, we know that work is continuing. I wouldn't be surprised if we got freight elevators added to 322. It might still be a little bit of a long shot, but it's definitely farther along than we think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked at all. The only question is, like, I'm pretty sure they want this to come along with one of the hangar, the one of the new hangar things.
Well, so they can have. I think that they could do the freight elevators without instance hangars for now, just because we don't have increased player counts, and so people could be in there for a long time, and they're doing it anyway. We have lots of hangars, but I think that might be something that might push it back to Q1, is if they wanted to deliver that with instance hangars after the separation of the replication layer.
I hope they do an instance hangar setup to where it is dynamic and that will only instance hangars if the traffic deems it necessary. Because that will mean they're tracking how much instance hangars are being used, because I don't think it's going to be as much as they think it is.
Oh yeah, especially until we get much larger player counts, it's not going to be a thing. And until NPCs are flying around and landing in those hangars, because that's the thing is, it doesn't matter if the NPC despawns once it goes into the hangar, but you don't want the NPC opening the hangar, flying their ship, and crashing into you. Well, as you're trying to load your car, although that would be really funny to watch on ISC. Somebody's Carrack lands on a cutter as they're unloading their boxes or something, and you're like, no, I'm right here, but you can't see while I'm there.
Yeah. Do you think they want the replication layer split before hangars? Yes.
I think they want it. I don't know if it's a need.
Yeah. It's one of those stuff like features right now, because of how everything is announced, is very nebulous. Like, what do they need between now and server meshing for X feature? So there's UFGs, persistent instance hangars, the elevators, like heck, the new looting screen. Like, what is needed? The map. Who needs what feature needs what underlying tech? It's really hard to guess those.
So Shimpasta, instanced, all hangars are instanced. Not all hangars are persistent. Your persistent hangars is the new word for your personal hangar, where your hangar that you own, your things will persist. If it's just a standard
I think they've got some questions to answer in regards to persistent hangars as well.
Oh yeah,
specifically around like their location in the verse, because you're supposed to be able to stream them in and out. But if somebody's entering their hangar and it occupies the same space that you know that yours is in, it breaks down.
I don't think they're going to do physical location. I think it's going to be a instance hangar that is called by you at a location. So let's say your personal hangar, persistent hangar, is in ArtCorp. So when you go to ArtCorp, you call the hangar and it gives you your persistent hangar. And once you land and shut the door, it is instance out.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like your door to your apartment and your neighbor's door to their apartment. Like, sometimes we'll get assigned into the same space, and you'll go to different places when you go through that door, and you'll be able to see into the door until it closes, and then yours will appear. It's like weird. There's edge cases where you can see into a place that isn't your place where you know it is.
Yeah, I think those edge
location
cases are
isn't going to persist.
Yeah, those are a lot more obvious for habs, I think, than they are for hangars.
If you keep your hangar a mess and you are going to land at your hangar,
yeah, you're like, I know that my hangar is 12. It's always been 12, but I just saw somebody else go into 12, and
it's the what is it called? The suspension of disbelief.
Yep.
It breaks down that instantaneously.
Yeah. But also, like, if you're expecting it to be that way, and it always actually has to be 12. Like 100 people have 12, but usually the people who occupy 12 aren't there at the same time. You'd have to wait to access your hangar.
Yeah.
But I mean, these places don't have enough doors, so it's going to happen anyways.
Yeah, and
they can add a lot more actual physical hangars and doors to landing zones, and they're going to add a lot more to stations just to make them look realistic. They just can't do it right now with the server limitations, but they'll do that. But they don't. It's still going to be a problem, even if they double the amount of actual physical hangars, at a station or at a landing zone. You're right. You know that door here at ArtCore is the one that I always go into, and somebody just went into it, but it's the whole odds thing. And
on top of that, there's also building interiors and all the work they want to do for that. Like that will add more hangars, I assume. They only showed pads, but I assume also hangars around the city, not just at the spaceport.
And then there's also, what if every door is open and your door is closed, but you want to leave your hangar. How do you leave your hangar if all the doors are already open into other people's hangars?
Yeah, it's an edge case, and it's one of those things where they'll be like, please wait while traffic clears or something like that. It'll be kind of like requesting takeoff at an airport. You'll be, waiting for your turn to enter the pattern, and they won't open the door until, it's clear.
But I want it now.
Yeah,
I think they're just gonna
I've got space adventures.
It won't happen often, I imagine, but I think they'll have to have some sort of just you're gonna have to wait.
Yep.
Fall back.
Yeah, the pattern is full. Yeah. I mean, that's, the waiting for your turn to enter the pattern or to move on to the runway for takeoff at a small, not very busy airport, it's not really a thing. You come and go as you please, very easy and very quickly. But if you're at Area 18, okay, well, that's the price of putting your persistent hangar there at Area 18. And it also is going to be related to how big the shard populations are, and the average population throughout the day, and it'll be less of an issue as more systems come online and people spread out. But there are edge cases, and there is going to be some suspension of disbelief. But I don't think it's going to be one of those things that you run into often enough that it bothers people too much. And if they do get bothered, then that's what you're fucking worrying about.
I really do miss the landing tunnels. Like, that felt really real to me.
I guarantee you those will come back.
Really? You think the landing tunnels are coming back?
Yeah, it just will be a lot more forgiving. But with the the AR stuff that they're doing right now, they'll just tell you that you need to go through this landing tunnel, and it'll start out wide and then go narrower as you get closer. But with players landing and NPCs coming and going from stations and from spaceports, and the NPC populations that they want to show on screen coming and going, there's no way they're not going to do it. There's no freaking way they're just going to let you, do whatever the F you want at a major metropolitan airport. And anyone who says, oh, no, that's not realistic, get fucked.
Well, what you see happening in Pyro right now, in those particular habs that don't have armistice zones, it's going to happen everywhere that players can do that. Oh, look, there's another Cuddy that's landing. Nope, not anymore.
Well, that's kind of what it's going to be, except in Stanton and UEE control systems, you're only going to do that once. NPCs will hunt you down.
Well, and I think it's just super believable that you have requested a hangar and you are requesting to land, and part of that request is if you deviate from the flight pattern, the ATC AI will take control of your ship and put you back in it. Sorry, that is not immersion breaking at all. That's like the most realistic thing in the world for a 30th century air traffic control system, because that's you are, when you come into land at an airport, you are asking for permission to land there, and this is the route that you will take to do so, and these are the instructions that you will do at a given time in order to make that happen. And if you don't do it, all hell will break loose. You will lose it. Like, the FAA will come down on you with the wrath of effing God. And anyone who tries to tell me otherwise is full of shit, because I come in and out of the pattern of airports literally every shift, and I have to listen to it all the time on my headset. Like, this is something I'm deeply familiar with. The only way I could be more familiar with it if I was the actual pilot doing it. But yeah, sorry, that's a big old long tangent. That's fine.
I love it. That's a good
from freight elevators. But so continuing on from freight elevators, on the Delta report though is the cargo hauling missions, and I think it's encouraging with narrative work being scheduled for the cargo hauling missions, and that narrative work ending in a few days. Now, we know that the first cargo hauling missions are just going to be courier missions with smaller boxes. Not like we're not getting the ones for the whole sea. but we also don't know the scale of the courier missions. But it'll probably be, a number of cargo boxes of, the 2, 4, 8 SU, maybe more.
And these do require the freight elevator.
It
It said so. It
Does
says
it?
so on the
Okay.
tile. Yep. Making use of freight elevator features, this mission type will have
okay.
players hauling large quantities of cargo to earn a UEC and reputation. And
wonder
this
if
specifically was also mentioned at CitizenCon with the what did they call it? The trade something division united.
Oh, it's the guild.
Guild thing, yeah, the guild,
the
what
Interstellar
did they call it?
Transport Guild or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yep. No, you got it right. And absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think with the courier missions, they might be able to do it without the freight elevators, but that's the other reason I'm thinking that freight elevators are targeting for 322 is in order, to align with these missions, or the missions will just be done and waiting on freight elevators. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm hopeful that we'll get an ISC where they'll show us hey, here's the UI that we're working on for this. To help us gauge the progress.
When does ISC start up again?
Was it this week?
Was it in the Twisk?
I haven't even looked at Twist today. I was so busy.
I don't. Yeah, same. Like
next week.
Next week. Thank you.
North Orange Trooper saying next week. Shimpasta 322 is this year, Q4.
Yep. And it's the going out with the bang patch.
Yeah. It is very encouraging
Inside
to
Star
see...
Citizens on the 9th.
Oh, really?
It is this week. Yeah, it's this week.
We do have one?
Yeah, Citizen behind the scenes special. Yeah.
Oh, behind the scenes special. Well,
so it's a recap of stuff for the real ISC comes back next week.
I don't want that over there. Why is that going over there? Whoops.
I don't know. Use Windows.
The other GIF.
Huh?
The other Homer GIF that I posted.
Oh yeah, he keeps bringing up the thing, the stuff with the stuff on it. Discord. There we go.
Part of the crew.
Steady, man. Part of the crew.
When does Pyro Channel end?
I want to say it was the 10th. Was the updated schedule?
Yep.
Eisen Herzog 42. Eisen Herzog. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the support. Thanks for joining us this evening. Hope you're doing well. I'm very encouraged by the amount of work on the new missions. The Steel Recover Cargo, I'm very excited about. Because these are for boarding. The description was they talked about either disabling or finding disabled ships and boarding them to recover the cargo. Boarding actions are my thing, so I'm very, very excited. The restoration contract missions also sound really interesting because they take place at the what do they call them? I'm going to pull up the description. Utilizing the repair functionality of the multi-tool salvage attachment, players are tasked to restore ships from bow to stern, patching up the hull, replacing missing or faulty internal components, and replacing weapon loadouts in new salvage yard locations. I'm very excited to see these locations. Obviously, we know the work on persistent hangars is going to continue for a little while, but we are going to be getting instance hangars and freight elevators first, followed by persistent hangars, and then they will be pivoting to work on persistent habs, is what they had said before, that the work on persistent habs will continue after persistent hangars. The other thing with the persistent habs is that work will continue once the sandbox and what's the Montreal team? Not sandbox, but the other one, Montreal location or something.
And APT?
No, the one's working on the UGFs.
Is that not Napu?
It's not Napu. It's a location team. I forget which one. But it's the Montreal one. But anyway, them and EU Sandbox 2 are working on the UGFs. And once that work on the UGFs is done, then they'll continue work on building interiors. That's what it was said before.
Yeah, it's just MTL Sandbox.
Okay. So there's EU Sandbox 1 and 2 and Montreal Sandbox. Okay. Just the namings. Oh, geez. Physical damage and breakability, which can we just like change the name to Maelstrom now?
No. Just like Jake won't change the name of those unannounced features that turned out to just be like IE years ago.
IAE and Invictus launch week from 2020 or 2021, I forget. You know,
Yeah.
no one
Yeah,
sold
they're
me
just
to,
on-
so I'm
they're
just
just
going to
on
leave it
there.
on there.
Yeah, just I don't know what that's about.
Yeah. Come on, Jake.
I could change
Just
it,
ask.
but they told me not to.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Could just override it.
But you know, the VFX. So visual effects. This isn't the engine team. This is actually here. Can we pull this up? So there's interesting
What
that
tour are we
it
on?
should. Well, so the progress tracker shows the work from the physics team ending in August for physical damage and breakability, but then the and it's because the progress tracker is broken. That's probably why. But the Delta report for 1022 shows that VFX was assigned, adding 24 days of work, and essentially starting probably at the beginning of October. So that's a good thing. Is the VFX people are working on Maelstrom now to make it look pretty.
Sweet.
VFX is downstream. I'm
Yep.
excited. Very, very excited.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why they're reworking the engine demo right now.
Oh,
Because
yeah, that makes sense.
The Gladius collision
Mhm.
looked a little like hot garbage in that one, but it looked better later on.
It was cool, but it definitely just looked like a bunch of glass breaking.
Yeah, and it didn't interact with the water properly, but it definitely did later. So it's like two different versions of the engine there.
Yeah, everyone made their CitizenCon presentations in a vacuum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when they all came together and all showed their stuff, everyone like pointed at each other, going, "Hey!"
I didn't know you were working on that. That's really cool.
Yeah, and so everyone went back to the office and like, "Hey, like I we're checking in this stuff, and you're checking in that stuff, so I want to take that stuff and check it in over here, and you know that like convergence of all the stuff that they did for CitizenCon."
They look at it and say, "Wait a second, I was working on something like that," and you got like three different teams that got the same. Oops.
So, the other interesting thing is for salvage vehicle munching, on the progress tracker right now, because it's borked, it just shows the EUPU, which is EUPU gameplay feature team working on salvage vehicle munching. But then on the October 22nd Delta report, it shows the addition of the VFX, adding 19 days of work.
Yeah, the VFX team, when I pulled that, they had basically like half a week of work, and then it stopped.
Interesting. Yeah, because it shows that that's a good thing though. If VFX is getting involved with vehicle munching, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the first things we see in ISC when they come back. You know, because we're literally 6 weeks out from a 322 release and having vehicle munching, and so the VFX is just probably going gangbusters on Maelstrom and vehicle munching to get it working.
Now I think my question is whether or not vehicle munching is the full Maelstrom set for ships. Like, I'm not going to assume it's going to be tied to buildings or anything like that, but like,
oh yeah,
if you got vehicle munching in, do they just disable collision based Maelstrom where you're crashing two ships with their shields down and they just like rip a wing off, or
that's what that's what I'm wondering, is if we're only enabling Maelstrom for salvage, and it isn't Yeah, like is it only enabled for salvage and it isn't turned on for, pad ramming and, getting hit by a torpedo, or when you find a invisible asteroid. Ah, kitty.
Tractor beaming a rock into somebody.
Yeah, because that could be interesting. I mean, is it still vehicle munching? Great, cool, and it's could show us what updated, how Maelstrom is being integrated and stuff, and how quickly they can get this set up for ships, and they just need to continue to work on the physics engine aspect of it, with the the application of force, but they're using it in order to disintegrate the ship when you are cutting it up or or whatever. But yeah, that'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. Because I agree with you. I don't think it's the full, hey, here's Maelstrom, but using Maelstrom in order to do
Showcase
just
it.
that aspect, showcase it, is still a big win for us, especially for people with salvaging ships. And then Ship Trespass, Squadron 42 Vehicle Sport, Tumble Storm, we know about. Unannounced Vehicle. Let's see. I think this is the one. There's two of them that had VFX added. One of these, I believe, is... It's going to work right.
Possible to tell whether or not those ones...
Yeah. So this is the one. It's borked. Wait. Let's see. So this is the...
They both had VFX added.
Oh yeah, I suppose you can just click directly into the progress tracker from there to see what they
and
are.
The one on the
They're
bottom
not the ones
has,
they reveal.
Yeah. Well, it's because the progress tracker's borked, but it's the VFX for revealing 6 days of work down here. This one is the other unannounced ship from Montreal Vehicle Content. This is the Cutter Expedition, 100%. But this one...
You mean the Scout?
The Expedition. It's another variant.
The Scout is revealed. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this one's EU Vehicle Content. So this one has VFX work now. Don't know if this vehicle content sprint got elongated, but it's showing VFX for adding 19 days of work going out into October. So, whoops, that would have been a VFX sprint right here. I think this is probably going to be the IAE straight to flyable, but we'll see. Either that or end of year. But my hypothesis is that this one is that it's one of the ones that was shown in the ship panel, and I think it's the one that looked like a medium, almost anvil looking ship, had the cargo elevator. Is that? I think it's that one. I don't think it's that little like hovercraft thing. But we'll just have to wait and see.
We're also with the IE video. We may be we know we're getting a Gotek ship. We just don't know what state it's in, but it looks straight to flyable.
So if it's straight to flyable, that'd be really cool. This could be the Gotek something.
Part of the crew. Part of the
ship.
Part of the
part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Part of the crew. Part of the man. Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Cindy Senderson, thank you so much for the follow. Thanks for the support. Thank you for joining us this evening. Hope you're doing well.
All the words. You know what you didn't do today?
What?
You didn't do your thing about StackUp.
I haven't, and I usually wait to see if somebody like donates or something.
Yeah,
but I
haven't donated $20 today.
Yeah, Shiny. Why haven't you donated $20? Okay, so that's
I don't support the troops, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, fuck them, man. It's only Veterans Day week,
Yeah.
Seulin, or I forget what the spelling and pronunciation is, but yeah, Citizen Ninja, the
Sanderson?
Was it a Gotak ship or was it a POA ship?
It was
Gotak.
Gotak.
Okay.
Which is weird because they said they're moving on to Ryland after they're done with the Suntucky Eye.
Well, I mean, the Santaki hasn't done yet, though.
I know, that's the weird part.
I just looked up the Raylan. Wow, it really has been 2 years. Oh man,
Big
almost.
sads.
Yeah, that's 2.5 years.
Okay, so let's move on to we'll close the actual, we'll just leave that one up. Let's
Cloud.
go on to the November 1st Roadmap Roundup. Nazeris, take it away.
That's the fun one.
Want me to read the header again?
Sure, please.
November 1st. Where did it go? It decided to not exist anymore. Give me one moment. Alrighty. Page actually loaded this time. Great. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup. CIG Community Team. Oh boy, did they just update everything, all the ships
Mm-hmm.
and inventory. So I'm gonna run through. I guess in the progress tracker, they added two things: the Cutter Scout and the RSI Zeus Mark II.
And those two things actually are, I think, the only two things that actually changed on the progress tracker. Out of everything that I picked up on the Delta, it's so broken. Those are the only two things you can trust, as far as
Nice.
I'm concerned, because everything else was just like I'm getting deleted or the item being deleted completely.
Oh yeah, that's really weird. Yeah, you had
Every one
14
of them was
deliverables
like
removed.
in dates
All over the
removed,
place.
moved backwards. Like some
Such a
things got
weird
added to
bug.
release windows.
When some were removed and then added, like the Santaki was removed and then added.
Yeah, the Santaki has like 2 different entries at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it switches around because they don't clean out their data. I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there.
28
But
things
I
were
don't do any
updated,
data
but they
curating.
weren't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the release view side, data heist. The following cards have been added to the 321 column on the release view, targeting 321.1 data heist mission. And then the following cards have been added to the release view, targeting Q4 release date with 322, being player hair update, salvage structural, which we've been talking about for a while. Cargo inventory containers. This is a big one. This is basically making containers actually the containers we all wanted. This feature will allow players to store items and smaller cargo containers in larger cargo containers. We don't know how or what this entails yet. I believe it is the thumbnail for it. There's an open large container, but it's the old style. So we don't know if it's going to be a UI or is it going to be actually putting those carryable SCUs into a larger container.
Like the box has its own grid.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to be updating it because, like, if you have a 2 SCU
we
container,
just got these containers though. Like,
yeah, if you have a 2 SCU container, you can open it up like it's an inventory thing. You can put things in it because, like Ghost, when we do lore expeditions, Ghost will make party boxes, and it'll grab a 2 SCU container and just put like railguns and railgun ammo and med pens and that sort of stuff in there. That way we can easily all just grab it and share those things. And if you need to, like if somebody needs something like, hey, does anyone have any of these? Anyone looted any of these? And I'll just put it in the party box and you drop it in there and then everybody can grab it. And so it's a really efficient way to doing things, but we only have the 2 SCU containers for doing it. So,
and in the PTU currently, you can buy a 1 SCU.
So if you buy it, how do you get it physicalized onto your cargo grid?
I don't know. All I saw was Tomato's tweet saying you can now buy 1 SCUs.
Yeah, because I saw you can buy it, but then Mike said that you can't move it from your inventory into a physical state on your cargo grid. I'm like, well, why can
1 to an
what purpose?
8. Interesting. I imagine it's still PTU stuff still being added. So
Yeah, I think it's probably just like not functioning yet. But
Yeah,
I
much
think
like
that's probably right, and it's intended, or it's just added on accident, and that's for 322, and it wasn't meant to be in the build.
they put accidental stuff in so rarely, but it does happen sometimes. So they POA Santoki end of year. The X1 series being the Origin X1, Velocity, and Force, all coming in for the end of the year. I want to try these bikes. I really can't wait to see these things.
I completely forgot there
also-
were variants. It's been so long.
I want to see a high speed, like grav bike racetrack. Because we don't have any. Like, we have the PTV ground track, and that's a very small track. I want to see a bike specifically, because the bikes run at like 500 meters per second. They are stupid fast. So I want like bank curves. I want a large sizable track that is built for stupid fast grav bikes. Heck, what they need to do is actually build a speedway somewhere. Not the one in green where it's all up in the air, but an actual ground speedway that,
A dirt
depending on
track?
the race, it could be dirt, it could be an actual event center. But the track, kind of like a lot of the not F1, a lot of the races that are not NASCAR, they'll have a single track, but they can do it in several different configurations. And depending on whatever like event or mission you pick up, it'll configure the racetrack in that way. So whether it be ground, small ground vehicles, medium ground vehicles, or grav bikes, it would have a different configuration to make the track different for each of them, playing into their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Is that lots of artist time? Yes, it is. Can they still do it? Probably. So that is the Roadmap Roundup for the 1st of November.
Yeah,
But Jake followed that up with the error that I have to tell you about.
Yes.
Was that a comment in the
thread, on Spectrum. He
how
says,
I-
"Hey folks,
yeah, there you go,
quick
this one.
update. We had an issue crop up with the progress tracker import that's resulting in some missing data. So there may be a few inaccuracies, roughly 50 of them. Jake told me that the bug was related to their workers simply not completing the script, and that it's new, meaning that they occasionally change things in the process that works most of the time, and they do it at the last minute. That's like all the information I have, but they've done it 3 times this year. And each one of them has been a different reason for why it stopped working. And this last one was just
same thing that happened in May,
just
June.
dies. No, this one's different.
Oh,
This one just it gets stuck and it just quits. Oh well, like that's the issue.
Nice.
And of course, they followed up with, our devs are working on a solution, but may not have one this evening. Well, we get to wait until next week to have the solution to this problem, maybe,
mm-hmm.
because of that
That's
weird policy we've discussed a couple times, where they just
if they
choose
even if they
not
find a
to
fix,
update it
they won't
the day
update it
after.
until the next scheduled update, which is really frustrating. Because okay, they could have, our devs are working on a solution, but they have it this evening. Okay, maybe they got it on the next day, which would have been Thursday or Friday or something like that. And then they still won't release it until not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday. It's like, why do we have to wait an additional almost 2 weeks to get the fix for the information?
It wasn't on this. It wasn't on the Twisk.
Mm-hmm.
No Twisk, no publish.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's unnecessarily constrained.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they
for no
used
reason.
to publish like at all hours of the day on random days. Like, they're
Heck, they should publish things if they're interesting and they come in, like it's a Thursday and we have, oh, this team has decided that they're going to be doing such and such. All right, put it on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you have to publish the whole thing? No.
Yeah, and
I mean,
just
it would
keep
make
track
my
of.
job harder, but
Well, you could do a poll once a week,
yeah, I could do that. And
and
then when I
like
say it's broken, I say, sorry guys, next Friday.
that. um, and then they could just keep track of their changes. That's not hard. Programs do that a lot on their own, and then just every 2 weeks publish the roundup that just says everything that changed and why it changed. Like, it's outside looking in, not that hard.
Yeah. So, like, to follow that up, their ability to keep track of what the changes are does seem to be kind of difficult because, and I quote, "Let me know what you find, and I'll comment accordingly." Their comment
Oh my
exists because
gosh.
I found the problems. They don't have an internal tool to track this stuff.
How are your tools better than theirs?
I have the bandwidth.
It's internal systems. They don't need bandwidth.
No, it's not like
I'm
literal
memeing.
bandwidth, but like
Yeah, I'm memeing.
like
Well,
he
like-
he
that's
personally
what.
has the personal bandwidth to do it and work on it, whereas the progress tracker right now is not a priority for CIG.
It should be.
It should be.
I think
It should.
it's definitely getting, like, maybe I should put together a graph or something that can show how lagged out it's become this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just gotten progressively worse since I started tracking it, and I don't know if there's any correlation there. Like, oh, I can see it. Better fucking quit. But
Shiny is the source of the infection. We need to
Yeah, but-
quarantine Shiny.
yeah, I'm a little too noisy or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
weird.
find it useful to some degree, at least, as a debugging tool.
Yep.
I think it's has something to do, some correlation with the laser focus on other things.
Yeah. Well, would you rather Squadron 42 be feature complete, or the progress tracker gets posted on a Thursday sometimes, huh?
Progress tracker
Those
every
are-
time.
Those are your options.
I can wait 5 more years for Squadron. I want the roadmap.
Give me a roadmap.
I've waited this long. I can wait.
Before we move on to the Spectrum Pulse, I just wanted to, because the Drake Cutter Scout was unannounced and the Zeus was unannounced, and those were both changed to shown on the progress tracker. And so, if we go to the deliverables view on the progress tracker, and we can see that there is 1, 2, 3. Let's see. There we go. Okay, there are still 2 unannounced vehicles in production, and then there's 3 unannounced vehicles in production. One of them hasn't received any work since June, and it was only a very short sprint. So I think they probably decided to stop working on that one and work on something else. But then we have 2 2 vehicles that were concept, and these are not the same as other vehicles because we're looking at the actual deliverables view. So this is the only work that has been done on this vehicle is just vehicle concept art and vehicle concept art, and so we don't know when these are going into production, or but we just know that they are their own vehicle. It isn't related to a different vehicle, but we do have. Go ahead. Sorry.
What I was going to say is, on the timeline view that I have 9 vehicles that are unannounced.
Ooh.
I don't know how you'd specify.
Well, there's
whether or not it's,
these other deliverables that are unannounced. Well, let's see. Are they vehicles or?
Yeah, because I mean, they're obfuscated on there where they literally just say unannounced. You have to click into each one to find out whether or not it's a vehicle or content or feature or something.
Mhm.
But on mine, I differentiate. They're called unannounced vehicle, unannounced feature.
Oh, here's another one. Yeah,
So I get 9 of them.
let's see.
And you have one that only had narrative on it for like a 2-week period in 2021. You've
Mhm.
got an unannounced one for Q1 of 2021 with just art on it. There's some of these that go back quite far. And
They could be
yeah.
related to
Maybe
vehicles that we already have, but
I guess there are probably 7 of them now because I'm looking at the October 2020 or the October 22nd.
yeah, I've got 1, 2,
It's 7
3, 4,
now.
5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. Yep. The only ones that have had any recent work are these ones down here at the bottom. 2 of them are just concept art. One of them was just a 2.5 month sprint by the vehicle content team. And we don't know how much actual work was in there. I'd have to pull it up in the scheduled work timeline. But then these are this one right here, Montreal vehicle content. This is guaranteed to be the Cutter Expedition variant. That's been leaked
Guaranteed
and
by who?
by me.
Yeah, by him.
So,
and if he's wrong, sue him.
So in
Yeah.
Invictus launch week, remember when they said the Montreal vehicle team is working on 2 variants of an existing vehicle?
Mhm.
Well, one of those variants is the Cutter Scout. Because if you go to the Montreal vehicle team, here, I have it pulled up.
And the other one isn't on there.
So here's the Cutter Scout. Here's the Zeus, just started in production. And here's that unannounced vehicle. So this is the other variant that they're working on. This is the Cutter Scout or Expedition. And it actually has VFX work on it now. So guaranteed this is going to be a straight to flyable for IAE. The Zeus Mark II obviously barely started in production, but that means that the other unannounced that's well into production, let's see, this is US. No, I want Euro.
European
Is
vehicle.
this one with the EU vehicle content team that has had 4 artists and 1 designer or 3 designers assigned to it during its lifetime. And this one also just had VFX assigned to it from what we just looked at on the Delta report or the scheduled delivery report. I forget which one it was, from 1022. And that's the other reason I think that this one is either going to be an IAE ship, another straight to flyable, or a Q4, another Q4 ship alongside the Santok Yai. We'll just have to see what additional work gets added. But the fact that it's VFX that started in October, 5-6 weeks of VFX work plus a few more weeks added onto it for vehicle content. I think that this is that probably that small medium-ish ship that was in the ship panel. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But having that many people working on it makes me think that it's not one of that tiny little hover thing that we saw in the first screen of that panel. But unless you guys have anything else you wanted to go over, I think that's it for the Roadmap Roundups.
Only that I hope that they are announcing some big concept soon.
Yes.
I don't have anything. I gotta fix that problem that you guys pointed out.
Whoops.
I got it written down.
I mean, this concept right here,
RSI
had
minor,
1,
yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6.5 months of concept work. It's probably a pretty decently sized concept ship. We'll just have
Capital
to
cargo. That would also be very nice.
wait and see. All right, I'm
Actually,
going to minimize these.
I do have one shiny tracker thing. I'm
Oh,
I'm
go for it.
reworking the Delta builder aspect of the bot. I'm rewriting it so it'll be multi-threaded and it doesn't take me an hour to upload.
Yeah. Neat.
After
That would be nice.
Jake posts. It'll probably be like 10 minutes instead.
Oh wow.
Because it's getting slower and slower with each one.
Oh yeah,
It's
because you
just
get more and more
too much.
data and
yeah, I don't know, comparing all that is really time intensive.
Yeah, I bet.
It's single threaded currently, so it's just
Get with the
slow
times,
as
Shiny.
yeah.
Before we transition to the Spectral Pulse for tonight, and it's a good idea because Moobot just posted about it. Just want to remind everybody who's hanging out in chat that any and all monetization that I receive from Twitch and YouTube gets donated in its entirety to StackUp.org. I take no money for myself, and so when I get a payout from Twitch or YouTube, I take that money, I round up to the next highest $50 with some of my own money, and I make a donation to StackUp.org. So, like, if I get a payout for $85, I add $15 of my own money, and we as a community donate $100 to StackUp.org. And so, if you want to donate to StackUp.org, you want to support a good cause, use that link. I need to get rid of the donation thing via Twitch because Twitch doesn't pay out to Stack Up often enough. They do it like every quarter, every other quarter. And so that's why the number up there has been static for so long. And it doesn't reflect in the little banner thing that actually isn't in this screen, but it is in other screens or other scenes on OBS. But yeah.
Plus, if you donate through Twitch, they probably get like a tax break because they're donating on your behalf.
Yep. And
Which
fuck
is
those
kind
guys.
of a scummy thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Twitch charges a fee, like a transaction fee. Whereas if you just donate directly to the donor drive, there is no transaction fee or anything. So yeah, I need to remove that donation thing from Twitch, and just do the donor drive things. But yeah, if you want to support StackUp.org, you can donate via that link. And just by suffering through ads whenever they do them, that money goes to StackUp.org. And if you wanted to subscribe and not have to suffer through ads, that money goes to StackUp as well. So I really appreciate everybody's support and really appreciate everybody hanging out with us this evening.